Hey y'all, Chris Cookin' Nashville here, the beautiful Ash Taylor with me.
Hello.
So we have some interesting stuff to talk about. First of all, if you are unaware, I'm going to link it down below, but we have the new Chris Cooking Nashville Studios channel.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to post this health vlog on that channel as well. I'm going to double post this because eventually we want to move the health vlogs over there, so all of the health information will be there and all of the food information will be here, but we're giving people some time to find that channel. So in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and keep them here as well. So if you're watching here, fantastic, watch the video. And then if you just don't mind, go over there after we're done with this video and subscribe to that channel. So that way you'll know when health vlogs come out in the future. If you are seeing this on the Chris Cooking Nashville Studios channel, then welcome, and make sure you hit the subscribe button down below that should have just lit up for you, and let us know that you're here and say hello. And we're gonna have a lot more of this kind of information coming. So today I wanted to talk with you guys about a poll that I actually put on my YouTube channel. I asked some people an interesting question, and I think it'll give us some good discussion. Before we dive into that, I believe Miss Ash over here had a little bit of a victory this last week in the world of keto and carnivore food. So would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah, I lost 2 more pounds. So I know that may not seem like much, but I was pretty happy about it. So I lost quite a bit of weight, doing carnivore, for the month there. And then I kind of, still am trying to do like really, carnivore most of the time. Meat heavy ketovore. So I'm somewhere in that range at all times.
Yeah.
But we went on the cruise ship, and there was a lot of stuff we ate that I felt like maybe kind of, I don't know, made me kind of swell up a little bit. There's a lot of like, the seed oils.
Seed oils, hidden carbs, weird ingredients.
We also, being on and off an airplane a bunch and just all kinds of stuff like that. So when we got home from vacation, I definitely felt like I was like, I don't want to get on a scale because I don't think I want to see the number. So I didn't. And I kind of have just kind of given my body a little bit of time and just kind of went right back to doing what we were doing. And automatically was just feeling better. And I finally hopped on the scale earlier this week, and I was down another 2 pounds. It's always nice to see the scale go down.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how much weight have you lost total then, roughly?
I'd have to look in my journey. I'd have to look at my phone for sure at my starting weight, because I started in 2020 is when I did my starting weight. Yeah, that was the first time we did it. Yeah, I would have lost about 110 pounds then altogether over the course of I guess roughly about 4 years.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and there was a big chunk of time in there where I gained a bunch of weight back, and I know you gained a little bit back, not as bad as I did, but you did gain some because we went back off the rails.
I lost a good amount in 2020 when I left a really, really stressful job, but I was still pretty much on standard American diet.
Right.
And then doing keto is when I then lost quite a significant amount.
Yeah.
And then I forget when it was either like late 21 or 22 is when we went off of keto and carnivore and did. We flip-flopped and did standard American diet.
End of 21 and kind of into 22.
We since though have been clean keto and stuff, but my weight also did plateau for a bit, which is why I was interested in trying carnivore. And that it seems like doing that though has really kicked my body maybe kind of back into a lot of things.
Right.
So again, even if you can't do maybe like super strict clean carnivore forever, even just doing it for 30 days or 90 days, whatever you can, I've kind of noticed a big benefit in that. So, which is good.
I think that's fantastic. Well, congratulations on more weight loss.
Thank you. I wish it was more than 2, but I'll take the 2.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we always wish it was more.
Right.
But truthfully, one, if you're losing anything, that's fantastic. If you're not losing anything, but you're not gaining anything, that's also fantastic. The only time that it's really something to be concerned about is if you're gaining weight. And when I say gaining weight, I don't mean like, oh, I gained a pound. If you're weighing every day and freaking out about gaining 1 or 2 or 5 or even 10 pounds because you're weighing that regularly, you are completely sabotaging yourself and you are ruining your ability to get results. I mean, you really are. Our body fluctuates. Fluid and different things you go to the bathroom and you can lose a couple of pounds. Seriously, your body has fluid and all kinds of other things that fluctuate daily. Yeah. And if you get inside your head and you weigh every day, and then you beat yourself up every time you see that number go up a little bit, you are sabotaging yourself and you are your own worst enemy. I love all of you. Stop that right now. Stop it. Stop doing that, because you are causing your own problems when you do that. And I'm saying that out of love, because I was a little bit that way.
Oh, yeah.
I was very obsessive, and I would really push myself, and I had to come to a realization that that is not the right way to do this. And if you weigh every day because you're someone who is not in any way affected by that, and you're tracking data of some kind because it's fun for you, I know some people like that.
Yeah,
that's cool. But if you get on that scale and you have a sense of, I'm dreading the potential that this number may have gone up, you need to get off the scale and you need to get out of your head and you need to do what is right for you and pay attention to how your clothes fit and take your measurements, and you need to stop worrying about that number. I love you. You are ruining your own progress, and we don't want to see that happen for you. We want to see you be successful and be confident and be able to do this in a way that works for you in the long term, and doing that on the scale is not good. So when you see a couple of pounds coming off the scale like that, that is really a huge victory, especially if you're one of those people who is plateaued, or if you have a lot of weight to lose, any of that kind of stuff. You have to see this for what it is.
Sure.
As good, optimistic, positive things. You have to focus on that stuff, because that's what's really important. And if you feel good and you're doing things you know are good for your body, the scale will adjust in time.
Oh, yeah.
One of the biggest things about this that is difficult for people is patience. Vitamin P, as Dr. Barry says, patience. You have to have patience. You took years, decades even, to get to where you are and be as unhealthy as you are. And just because you want it to change in a month doesn't mean your body gives two craps what you want, how fast you think that's going to happen. It's just probably not going to. And that's okay, because if you're doing things you know are good for yourself and you're staying positive and you're remembering your why, the why you do it is so important. These are the times that comes out. When you do all of that stuff, your body will heal.
Yeah.
It will start to adjust. As long as you're feeling good and you're doing the things that you know are good for your body, the scale will adjust in time when it is ready. And that's something that I really had to learn. That's why I haven't stepped on a scale in quite a while. And, you know, I definitely could tell I was swollen and inflamed when we came back from vacation. I'm sure the scale will show that I've gained weight, but I don't know what of that is actually weight that I would worry about, or how much of that is already gone after us being back.
Well,
I don't know.
I can tell too, like, even if you haven't stepped on a scale, just from seeing you every day and, you know, doing
Yeah.
life with you, I can tell that, like, your face and, like, your wrists and stuff were swollen, like, while we were on vacation.
Yes.
And then, like, now I'm like, all that inflammation, I don't see it anymore.
Absolutely.
You look totally fine. But that's also why I was like, hey, I'm not going to weigh myself either when we got
Yeah.
back. Because, like, why do that if you know the answer? And
Yeah.
then it's just going to stress you out and freak you out. And then it's like, why put yourself through it?
I think people, maybe meaning very well, sometimes maybe just wrapped up in their own head, whatever it is, people tend to sabotage themselves in this. And it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy where I'm afraid this won't work. And then they do things to beat themselves up for it not working. And then they go off the rails. You have to guard against that. And that actually leads me to this poll that I put on my YouTube channel, because I was curious what people would say. And essentially, I was asking them, what is the biggest stumbling block for you that you either do have or you did have when you first started keto or carnivore, or that other people around you have had, whatever.
Right.
What is the biggest stumbling block? And basically, the two answers that were the biggest, and I separated these out, although some people said they think they're kind of one and the same, was sugar/cheat meals. And then the other one was willpower. And I really find it interesting that basically overwhelmingly, almost 85, 90%, something like that, of the almost 1,000 votes on that poll said one of those two things, and they are kind of tied together. I found that very interesting, because ideally, when we're doing something like this, we wouldn't be having cheat meals. But there's a lot of different views on cheat meals and what that is and why you would or wouldn't do that. And we can talk about that. But there's a lot of different views on that. But more importantly, willpower, I guess, kind of relates to the whole thing with cheat meals of, well, I'm not having a cheat meal because I'm making a choice. I'm having a cheat meal because I can't say no, because I don't have the will to say no. And so when you think of those two things as kind of one and the same in that way, I actually think that's really revealing as to why so many people sometimes can struggle with keto or carnivore when they first start out, or maybe even after they've done it for a long time.
Right.
So I wanted to just kind of point this out because I find it interesting. Number one, you're not alone. If you are struggling and you feel this desire to have cheat meals, to have carbs, to have potatoes, to have bread, to have sugar, to have cake, cookies, whatever the thing is, whatever your trigger food is, whatever you want, you're not alone in the fact that you feel that way. I felt that way. I've struggled with that. That's the reason the first time I did this, I went back off the rails because there was all this stuff that I hadn't dealt with an addiction to.
Oh yeah. Well, it's also really easy to make excuses.
It is.
Like, oh, I'm really busy today. Let me go through the drive-through. I'll go back. I'll go back tomorrow to eating better.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to make excuses.
There's always an excuse.
Yeah.
There's always a reason tomorrow is better. There's all these different things. So the reason that I bring this up, I want all of you to really take a moment to think about what are the things, if there are, that cause you the most distress when it comes to keto and carnivore. What are the things that you fear? Now, if you're one of those people out there who says, I never struggled, or I'm not currently struggling, I have no struggles, I'm great at all of this, I've got it all under control, that's fantastic. I don't think there's a lot of them out there. I've gotten very few comments that have said anything like that, but I have gotten a few, and I think it's great. And I think you should consider yourself very blessed that you're not struggling with that, because the struggle is real for a lot of people. It's been real for me, and I feel like I'm actually at a place now where it's really good, where I don't struggle like that anymore. And even if I have something that's not super clean carnivore, maybe it has some carbs, maybe it's a veggie, the few things I've had here and there, I can very easily go back to doing carnivore the very next meal without it being an issue for me anymore.
Yeah.
But I also know if I start to get hungry and crave something that's not good for me, I recognize that very quickly as a craving based on that addiction that I know is still there.
Right.
And I immediately shut that down. And I stop that because I've had to learn for myself how to do that. I want you guys to think, what is the thing that causes you distress? What is the thing that you're addicted to, that you're struggling with, that you're afraid of? And listen, don't beat yourself up if you have one of those things. It's okay. If you want, put it in the comments down below. I'm telling you what mine are here. I've told you guys what mine are on this channel. Talk about these things with us. Don't be afraid of these things, and don't have this pride issue of I have to pretend I have it all figured out, because I think one of the biggest downfalls for people in this space that leads them to do things like have cheat meals and sugar, or to feel like they have no willpower or whatever, they're trying to do it alone. They're trying to do it alone. I've had a number of people that have commented on that poll saying they have no support from friends or family. They have people constantly trying to push food on them. They have people that are insulting them, that are yelling at them, that are doing all these things, trying to tell them what they're doing is wrong. And it's like, I'm in the best shape I've been in all of these years.
Right.
I feel amazing. I've reversed all these things, and my family still just doesn't get it. And I know that's really hard. And if you're one of those people, I'm so sorry. I know that's difficult, especially when it's the people that are closest to you that you love. But we have to understand, number one, people do not have access to this information easily. This is something we all have to work very hard to research and understand, because it is not easily accessible. That's why the work of people like Dr. Barry is so important, and why he and Nisha doing what they do has changed so many lives, because there's some of the few people that are out there fighting this and trying to give good information that is not just information by an influencer, but is actually backed up by research. And they're trying to show you the results of this, and they're doing so much work. That's why that's so important. There is very little information. There's also a lot of carbohydrate addiction and brain fog going on in your family members who don't eat this way. So if they're looking at you doing this, they have no information. In fact, it's against all the information that they've bought into their whole lives. And on top of it, they can't imagine probably giving up those carbs, because I think most people that eat that way don't realize the attachment they have to those carbohydrates until you try to cut them out.
Oh, sure.
That's the first time that you really understand what that's doing to you. So I'm sorry, I know that's difficult. Try to have grace with your family members. I've done that with friends and family we've had that don't understand this. Just try to have grace with them. But more importantly, don't try to do this alone. One of the biggest mistakes I made the first time around was doing this alone. And I didn't want to admit that I struggled, and I didn't want to admit that I wanted these things or that things sounded good or whatever. And what happened to me? I lost control of it. I went back off the rails. I gained a bunch of weight back. And then guess what? You feel terrible about yourself because you lose the weight and then you gain all of that weight back. And then you look in the mirror and you hate what you see. And now it's like, not only am I not worthy, but also I tried the thing that's helped everybody else and I failed at that too. And it turns into a spiral.
Right.
It turns into an absolute spiral. I don't want you guys to go through that. So please, tell us, what is it that you are most afraid of? What are you most distressed about when it comes to keto or carnivore? And how can we help? Can we create a keto or a carnivore recipe that maybe even if it's not the totally ideal thing you want to eat, maybe it's something you could have instead of this thing you want? That's why my recipes work really well for some people. And some people don't like that and that triggers them more. And I understand that. That's okay.
Right.
But is there a recipe that we could create that can help? Is there something we can do that when you start to have that craving, you intentionally flip your mindset and say, no, I'm not going to give into that. I'm going to go do this thing. Because if you plan it out ahead of time, this is the situation. I'm craving this thing. I'm struggling with this. I'm fearful of this. I'm whatever. I had to do this. This is what I do instead.
Right.
If you plan that ahead of time, you have a plan in place, it's so much easier. I had to do that for myself when I started craving things like Twinkies, like fast food, like whatever. I would have things, deli meat and cheese, or I'd have those, the egg quiche that I used to make all the time, the crustless quiche. I would have those in the refrigerator. The minute I started craving something like that, I would pop over to the refrigerator and I would start eating stuff. But not things that were bad for me. It was super high fat and super high protein.
Yeah.
And I started squashing it. And I intentionally did 365 days of carnivore with no cheat meals because I knew I was breaking an addiction. But number one, I admitted that it was an addiction. Number two, I squashed it well beyond what I felt like I would need to, like a month or two. And I would be like, oh yeah, the addiction's gone. No, I went for a year. And even now, I still have that mindset. If I start to crave something that I know I should not eat, I start to eat something that is high protein and high fat. I get my mind off of it. I try to go do something else. I remind myself why. I look at those old pictures of me, super overweight. I remind myself of my why. Think about you and trying to be the husband I want to be for you. Someday maybe being a dad if we decide to have kids, whatever it is we're doing. Those are my why. I remind myself of that, and I do whatever it takes to squash that craving and get that out of my head. But it's a very intentional thing, and I lean on you and I lean on the community here for support.
Right.
I'm not doing this alone. That's why I started the YouTube channel in the first place before it turned into all of the things it is now. That's what I was doing. I was keeping myself accountable and hoping to inspire someone else. So tell us, what is the thing that you find the most distressing, that you are the most fearful of? What can we do to help you be more stable with your keto or carnivore diet? How can we support you? How can you support each other? Go down in the comments down below and find somebody to support and share a story to inspire somebody that they're not alone. Be open about this kind of stuff, because pride and pretending that you're not struggling is the very first thing that will lead you to just spiral downwards and completely lose control. And I'm saying that not as someone who's judging you for it. I'm saying as someone who's been through it. That's what got to me, because I didn't want to admit I couldn't do it after I'd had so much success, and I didn't want to admit I was gaining weight when I was. And I was so prideful and I was so fearful that I wasn't willing to face the demons I had. But now I do, and you guys are a big part of that. You're a very big support network for us. And when I struggle with things, I can do that now, and I can tell you guys about it, and I can talk with you, and I can remember my why, and I have all of this stuff that inspires me. So tell us down below, what can we do to help you, and what can we do to support each other so that we don't feel like we're alone in this and we don't have to be fearful and we don't have to struggle with the cheat meals and the sugar and the willpower issues. Because it's one thing if you go out and you choose to eat something,
Yeah.
because it's like, I know this isn't good for me, but it's like a recreational drug. It's like drinking. It's like, whatever. It's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's completely different than I can't control myself. I have no willpower. I have to have this thing that I'm addicted to and I can't say no.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm afraid to admit that to other people. That's a completely different thing. And I think that's a real issue that way more people deal with than ever talk about it openly in this space.
Agreed.
I certainly do. And that's why I have those things set in place for me. So how do you feel about all that? Cheat meals, addiction, willpower issues?
I totally agree with all of it. I think anything worth doing is usually not easy to do. And I agree that you need support and a great support system. I also think, when it comes not just to carnivore or keto or any of that, but just health in general, there's a lot of unrealistic expectations that are kind of put on somebody.
Yeah.
It's like when we're kids and we're learning how to ride a bike, we have on training wheels for a reason, right? And once we get those, then our parents take them off and then we're able to ride down the street by ourselves and have that. And so it amazes me though how many people will hop on a bike per se and not have training wheels and just jump in, and then when they spiral and fall and break a bone or something, they kind of get upset, and rightfully so. They don't want to get back on the bike. But I think there's just a lot of heavy expectations of, I didn't do carnivore perfect this week, or I had this cheat meal. And I think for me too, that was a big thing. Like when you started your YouTube channel, and you did like a whole year, like no cheats, no nothing. And I watched you do it, and I was incredibly impressed by your self-control. And I know just by seeing what that's done for you, how helpful that was. And you have such a very, very different, just weight loss aside, you have such a different relationship to food now than you did even back then. And that was just a few years ago. And I continually see you improve and want to get better. And for family members of people that are watching, it's like that's kind of how Chris really got me into this whole carnivore thing. He was leading by this example where I was like, wow, like maybe this is worth it. And so it took time, but over time it's like I did hop on the carnivore train and what became very supportive, because I'm like, look at the difference that it's making. But when I went to go start carnivore, it's like, wow, you're married to Chris Cooking Nashville. What if I lose it one day and eat a Twinkie? Like, you know what I mean? Like what happens? But there's just a lot of dogma and a lot of high expectations, but we're all just human. And I think it's just important to remember that and don't make excuses for yourself, but also give yourself grace. But I really couldn't agree more with everything that you're saying.
I think it's also important to realize there are people in the keto and carnivore space that are very dogmatic and will kind of beat you up if you don't do it perfectly, whatever that means. One, I don't think probably any of them are doing it perfectly. I think they're trying to pretend, because everyone has a lot bigger persona on the internet than they do if they're standing with you face to face. That's one thing to remember. But the other thing is, people who have those kinds of attitudes, if they try to make you feel like you're failing and you're not doing it right and you're this and you're that, okay, if it's coming from a place where they're saying, here's a concern that I have and why I think you should consider doing something different because it could lead to this for you, whatever, and they have actual information, that's one thing. I think that's very helpful, and that's great. That's why, like, Dr. Barry, Nisha, some of the other doctors on here, they talk about, hey, I don't recommend you do this because this is where it can lead you and this is what it can cause. And I think that's done out of a place of care. Then there are people that will yell and scream and holler, you're not doing it right. And they'll say things like, you don't deserve to eat carnivore. Or I had a random comment where somebody said, thank goodness you morons will all be dead in a few years because this is ridiculous. Just people are crazy. When you see people that are doing that are beating you up for not doing it right, or beating you up because carnivore is a terrible idea, or keto is a terrible idea, or whatever, they come from all sides. When you see that kind of stuff and that gets in your head and you're feeling like you have enemies or you have people beating you down, whatever, lean on this community, because we all understand and we are here for you. But more importantly, remember something. Somebody like that can say whatever it is they want, and if you die tomorrow because of what they said, they're not going to care. So why should you care what they have to say? Think about people who actually have your best interest and the things they're trying to say, and really understand, do they care? about what actually happens to me. Then look at what they're saying with that lens and figure out, well, does this actually make sense? And if you're doing keto and carnivore and a family member is concerned about you, give them the research. Go to Dr. Barry's channel and look at some of those videos and show them the research that is attached in the show notes. That's what's so great about his videos. He attaches the research studies. You can read them yourself. So go do that kind of stuff. Show them the evidence. If someone is yelling at you or trying to beat you down, then just ignore what they're saying. There's no need to listen to any of that stuff. There is no need to let something like that affect anything that you are trying to do, because those people aren't living your life. You have a whole community of people right here that will support you. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to struggle. You're going to have good days and bad days. You're going to lose weight. You're going to gain weight. You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel better. It goes back and forth. The general trend, though, is a going to a good place kind of trend, and that's what we want. And that's why we're all here to support each other. Put the time into that. Swallow the pride, as hard as it is, and believe me, I know, because I have to all the time and I still struggle with it. Swallow the pride, admit the things that you struggle with if you're struggling with them, and let us know how we can help.
Yes.
So that we can actually be here for you, because Ash and I have to be here for each other. We have to keep each other accountable. We try to do this with people in the community. We let other people in the community do it for us.
Yes.
And we are here for you guys. We want you all to be here for each other, because we do this together so much better than we do it alone. You're not alone in this. Don't try to do this alone. Come here, let us help you. And while you're at it, make a few other recipes if that helps stabilize you, so that you can enjoy your keto or carnivore lifestyle. And if somebody says you shouldn't make recipes like that, if you find it helpful, make it. And if you don't find them helpful, don't make it. And if somebody else tries to tell you how to live your life, tell them to go screw off. That's the way it works. That's the way this works. And then come here to the community where we can support you and we can love you just the way you are, and then help you figure out how to be one step better tomorrow.
Yes.
That's how it works. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope that is inspirational. I hope that is helpful. I hope you feel like you are empowered, that you are emboldened, and that you are supported here in Chris Cooking Nashville land, and that you have some people that you can rely on, because we just want to see you guys be successful, and we want to be successful and be able to rely on you as much as you hopefully can rely on us. Thank you for watching. We appreciate every single one of you guys. This is Chris Cooking Nashville. Lovely Ash Taylor over here. If you didn't know, she just released a video for Stuck on Indiana, the acoustic performance. It's a song about me, so you guys should definitely go check it out. I'm going to link that down below, as well as her YouTube channel. Go give her a subscribe and watch that and share that video, because it's fantastic, and it tested my video editing skills a little bit, so we had some fun putting that together. But go check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching here at Chris Cooking Nashville Studios. Make sure that you've gone down, liked, and subscribed. Hit that notification bell so we can get this brand new channel off the ground, because we got a bunch more health type videos coming. It's going to be great. This is Chris Cooking Nashville and the beautiful Ash Taylor. Guys, make sure to eat your meat, love your life. We're going to see you here in the Studios channel for a whole bunch more health videos, and back on the Chris Cooking Nashville channel for a bunch more recipes.
We did it.
Yes. Thank you.
I didn't do anything.
Yes, you did.
I just sat here.
You sat here, you looked pretty, you said great things.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Mel wants to be in the health vlog.